Establishing control ownership across an organization begins with a clear philosophy of accountability. Each control within the SOC 2 framework must have a single, identifiable owner whose expertise aligns with the associated risks and processes. This person represents the single throat to choke, the one ultimately answerable for control performance. Yet ownership does not exist in isolation. Effective programs depend on cross-functional collaboration, where engineers, compliance specialists, and business leaders work together to sustain control effectiveness. Documenting these roles in accessible repositories, such as internal wikis or governance dashboards, ensures transparency and continuity even when staff change. Ownership clarity transforms abstract controls into operational realities, connecting accountability to both technical precision and ethical responsibility. The RACI framework provides a structured way to define who does what in maintaining each control. The acronym stands for Responsible, Accountable, Consulted, and Informed, each describing a distinct role in decision-making and execution. A common pitfall occurs when two people share accountability, leading to ambiguity and diffusion of responsibility. Instead, one person should remain accountable, supported by those responsible for carrying out tasks. Consulting broader stakeholders during implementation ensures that controls are practical, while keeping others informed promotes transparency and buy-in. When properly maintained, RAC charts prevent confusion, reduce redundancy, and help employees understand how their daily activities tie into larger compliance objectives. Mapping controls to teams is an exercise in understanding how the organization's structure mirrors its technology landscape. Product security and platform engineering often own preventative controls like encryption, authentication, and secure configuration baselines. Site reliability engineers, SREs, IT teams, and corporate security handle operational controls related to monitoring, patching, and infrastructure hardening. Privacy, legal, and compliance functions intersect to ensure data handling aligns with laws and contracts. Meanwhile, departments such as HR, procurement, and finance contribute administrative and vendor-related safeguards. When these relationships are visualized, often through RACI matrices, teams gain clarity on who drives which assurance outcomes, ensuring alignment between technical reality and governance intent. Change control ownership formalizes how updates enter production environments safely. Release managers or change approvers are assigned for each system, and changes are categorized by risk level, low, standard, or emergency, to dictate the necessary rigor. Emergency changes require justification and follow-up validation to ensure they did not introduce unintended vulnerabilities. Maintaining a comprehensive evidence trail, tickets, approvals, test results, and rollback criteria ensures traceability and accountability. After implementation, teams perform post-change reviews to confirm the system remains stable and secure. These routines uphold both SOC 2's operational integrity requirements and the organization's commitment to predictable, auditable system behavior. Vendor risk ownership extends accountability beyond internal operations to the third parties that support them. Each critical vendor should have a designated business owner responsible for due diligence, evidence collection, and ongoing performance monitoring. This includes reviewing SOC 2 reports, security questionnaires, and contractual clauses to ensure alignment with control expectations. Decision rights for remediation or termination must be clearly defined. So if a vendor's controls fail, ownership of the response is immediate and unambiguous. Establishing this discipline ensures vendor relationships do not become compliance blind spots and that risk remains managed across the entire supply chain. Data is one of the most valuable and regulated assets, which makes data stewardship a cornerstone of control ownership. Every dataset or system of record should have a designated data owner responsible for classification, retention, and secure disposal. Encryption key management must have accountable custodians to maintain rotation schedules and prevent key loss or compromise. Privacy teams and data stewards collaborate to handle subject rights requests, ensuring that access, correction, or deletion actions are timely and properly documented. This combination of ownership and process discipline transforms abstract data governance policies into verifiable operational behaviors, ones that auditors can observe and trust. Clearly defined incident roles ensure that chaos never eclipses accountability during a crisis. The incident commander coordinates the overall response, supported by functional leads from engineering, communications, legal, and customer success. A designated scribe captures real-time decisions and evidence, creating an auditable record of actions taken. Post-mortem facilitators help extract lessons learned and assign action items for follow-up. This structured approach to incident management transforms reactive firefighting into a controlled, transparent process. When incidents occur, having predetermined roles shortens response time, improves communication, and creates valuable evidence for both internal learning and audit purposes. Policy and standard ownership is the foundation of a healthy governance environment. Each document, whether a security policy, standard, or procedure, must have a named owner responsible for drafting, maintaining, and publishing updates. Approval workflows ensure oversight, while version control systems provide traceability for every revision. Exceptions to policy should follow a documented process with risk acceptance and expiration timelines. Training teams help ensure that new or updated policies reach their intended audiences and are understood in context. When ownership and versioning are managed systematically, policies evolve alongside the organization, maintaining both relevance and authority. Assigning metrics ownership allows the organization to measure performance with clarity and consistency. Each service level indicator, SLI, and service level objective, SLO, should have an owner accountable for accuracy and ongoing reporting. Key risk indicators, KRIs, and threshold definitions require stewards who can interpret deviations and escalate as needed. Dashboards displaying these metrics must have data quality controls to ensure reliability. Reports generated for governance forums should follow a defined cadence, weekly, monthly, or quarterly, depending on criticality. Ownership of metrics turns compliance from static documentation into dynamic performance management, providing leaders with insights that drive both operational and security improvements. The audit liaison function plays a vital bridging role between auditors and control owners. This centralized team coordinates evidence requests, manages sampling consistency, and translates SOC2 criteria into actionable tasks for technical staff. They also review submissions for quality and completeness before delivering them to auditors. After each engagement, lessons learned should flow back to control owners to improve future readiness. A strong liaison function prevents miscommunication, reduces redundant effort, and ensures that the organization presents a unified, coherent story to external assessors. This role transforms the audit from a disruptive event into a structured, repeatable collaboration. Despite best intentions, RACI anti-patterns can undermine clarity and accountability. Shared ownership without explicit boundaries leads to drift, where everyone assumes someone else is responsible. Rubber stamp approvals erode the value of oversight, signaling compliance theater rather than genuine review. Siloed changes, implemented without consultation, introduce hidden risks that surface only under audit or incident. Finally, incomplete inform lists can leave key stakeholders surprised or unprepared when control outcomes shift. Recognizing and addressing these anti-patterns requires vigilance, humility, and a commitment to transparent communication. When RACI is treated as a living governance tool rather than a static chart, it strengthens both accountability and collaboration across the enterprise. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Effective control ownership begins the moment a new project is conceived, which makes onboarding ownership an essential practice. Assigning responsible individuals at project inception ensures that compliance and security considerations are integrated from the start rather than retrofitted later. These roles should appear in project charters and technical design documents, identifying not only who owns controls, but how their success will be measured. Aligning incentives, such as performance metrics or recognition, with accountability reinforces that ownership is not just administrative, but strategic. Training and enablement for new control owners provide them with the context and tools to succeed. In mature programs, onboarding isn't a one-time event, it's a recurring ritual that embeds ownership into the DNA of every initiative. Clearly defined escalation pathways are critical for maintaining control when normal operations encounter exceptions or conflicts. Leadership involvement thresholds should be explicitly documented. What type of incident or control failure warrants management attention versus board-level awareness? Dispute resolution mechanisms prevent stalemates when multiple teams share dependencies. Channels such as hotlines, dedicated Slack or Teams pages, and rotation-based paging systems provide structured ways to raise and resolve issues. Transparency matters here. When employees know how and when to escalate, problems surface early rather than festering. At the highest level, board or risk committee reporting ensures that significant control breakdowns receive the visibility and resources needed for rapid resolution. Unchecked shadow IT can erode the integrity of any RACI model by introducing unsanctioned systems and untracked data flows. Organizations must implement discovery mechanisms, ranging from network scans and SaaS management tools to periodic attestations to uncover hidden services. Once identified, each service must be assigned an owner, evaluated for risk, and either consolidated into sanctioned platforms or decommissioned. Controls should be established to prevent reemergence, such as procurement workflows requiring security review before new tools are adopted. Eliminating shadow IT not only protects data and reduces compliance risk, but also reinforces the organization's culture of accountability and transparency. Evidence accountability is the practical side of ownership, ensuring that every assertion in a SOC 2 report can be backed by tangible proof. Canonical repositories, whether secure document management systems or compliance automation platforms, must store official evidence versions with strict access controls. Artifacts should follow standardized naming conventions and formats to make retrieval straightforward. Retention periods must align with audit and regulatory expectations, while chain of custody procedures confirm integrity from creation to submission. Periodic evidence retrieval drills validate that the organization can locate critical artifacts quickly under pressure. When evidence management is treated as a control itself, it becomes a source of confidence rather than anxiety during audits. Coordination with the third line of defense, typically internal audit, ensures that oversight remains objective and independent. Internal auditors conduct walkthroughs, evaluate control design, and verify remediation progress from an impartial standpoint. Their findings should feed directly into enterprise risk management processes, ensuring alignment between operational control owners and strategic risk governance. Collaboration does not mean interference. Independence must always be respected to preserve credibility. When third-line coordination functions effectively, it creates a cycle of accountability. Operational teams implement, compliance verifies, and internal audit validates. This layered assurance model strengthens both control resilience and stakeholder confidence. Building a strong control culture also requires training and enablement tailored to specific roles. A one-size-fits-all awareness program cannot meet the nuanced needs of system administrators, engineers, or privacy officers. Role-based modules should explain not only what controls exist, but why they matter, connecting compliance actions to real-world risk reduction. Just-in-time guides and playbooks, easily accessible within workflow tools, help reinforce good habits during daily tasks. Champion networks, composed of peer advocates across departments, extend the reach of formal training. Measuring adoption and effectiveness through feedback surveys or metrics like training completion rates ensures these efforts drive tangible improvement rather than symbolic participation. No ownership model endures without succession and coverage planning. Every critical control should have at least one designated deputy who can assume responsibility during vacations, turnover, or emergencies. Continuity plans document key processes, evidence locations, and escalation points so that transitions are seamless. Cross-training builds resilience, ensuring institutional knowledge isn't trapped in silos. Handover steps, revoking and reassigning access as roles change, maintain both security and audit readiness. In mature organizations, continuity planning is baked into governance rhythms, reviewed alongside other operational resilience measures to ensure there are no single points of failure in accountability. Integrating RACI principles into daily operations often requires tooling that embeds accountability directly into workflows. Change management systems can automatically record approvals and associate them with responsible individuals. Access review platforms capture attestation outcomes tied to specific control owners. Incident and ticketing systems can tag accountable teams for each event or request. Dashboards aggregating this data provide leadership with a real-time view of ownership and control health. When tools reflect the organization's RACI model, governance becomes an organic part of operational life rather than an external reporting requirement. Because organizations evolve, periodic RACI refreshes are necessary to keep accountability current. Quarterly reviews ensure that organizational changes, new hires, team restructures, or new vendors are reflected in ownership charts. Post-incident retrospectives often highlight unclear roles that must be updated. When new products or systems come online, their controls should be mapped immediately, preventing future ambiguity. Governance sign-off and internal publication confirm the refresh's legitimacy. Treating the RACI matrix as a living artifact ensures that it grows alongside the organization, maintaining both relevance and effectiveness in an ever-changing environment. A robust ownership model relies on clear communication of responsibilities. Internal portals or knowledge bases should make RACI matrices easily searchable, allowing anyone to identify who is responsible for a given control. Concise one-pagers per domain summarize roles, expectations, and key contact points. Office hours or open Q&A sessions provide opportunities for clarification and alignment. Leadership reinforcement during all-hands meetings sends a strong cultural message. Accountability is everyone's job. When communication channels are open and information is accessible, ownership becomes normalized and embraced rather than feared. To measure whether ownership is working in practice, organizations track ownership health through defined metrics. These may include SLA adherence for approvals or reviews, analysis of overdue tasks, and bottlenecks that delay control execution. Trends in audit exceptions can highlight weak accountability areas, while remediation completion rates measure follow-through. Leadership uses these insights to identify where additional training, staffing, or automation may be required. A data-driven understanding of ownership health transforms RACI from a static diagram into an active management tool, one that drives continuous improvement across compliance, operations, and culture. In conclusion, control ownership and RACI alignment transforms SOC 2 from a compliance exercise into an operational discipline. By defining clear accountability, embedding it into systems, and continuously refreshing it as the organization evolves, leadership creates an ecosystem where controls are lived, not just documented. Evidence management, succession planning, and performance metrics reinforce this accountability, ensuring resilience even under audit scrutiny. A culture of ownership fosters transparency, teamwork, and trust, the same principles SOC 2 seeks to validate externally. As programs mature, these ownership models integrate seamlessly into strategic roadmaps and governance timelines, ensuring that assurance remains both credible and sustainable.